Life doesn't wake up in the morning thinking about you. It doesn't check your schedule. It doesn't ask how you're feeling. And it certainly doesn't pause because you had a bad day. Life is not your parent, your therapist, or your cheerleader. It just is. The seasons don't care if you plant in spring, they just move on to summer. The clock doesn't care if you use the hour wisely. It ticks either way. The market doesn't care if you're prepared, it only responds to value. Now, some people hear that and get discouraged. They say, well, that's cold. That's unfair, but let me offer you a shift in perspective. That's not cruelty. That's clarity. That's your advantage. Because if life doesn't care about your excuses, then it also doesn't care about your past. If it doesn't slow down for your pain, it also won't speed up for someone else's privilege. It means the playing field, while not equal, is indifferent. And in an indifferent system, discipline, choices, and habits become the great equalizers. See, once you stop waiting for life to show compassion, you start realizing you don't need it to. What you need is strategy. What you need is resolve. What you need is to look at the hand you've been dealt and say, fine. Now watch what I do with it. Because when you stop asking life to care, you free up all that energy to care for your own results. And let me tell you, results have a funny way of attracting all the attention, applause, and opportunity you thought was missing. The coldness of life, my friend, is also its consistency. The sun rises for the lazy and the disciplined, but only one of them is ready to catch it. Only one of them has the plan. Only one of them. Now, let's get something clear. I'm not against sympathy. It's part of being human. A kind word can comfort a hurting heart. A listening ear can ease the burden of a rough season. But let me offer you a truth that changed my life. You can't deposit sympathy at the bank. Try it sometime. Walk into the bank and say, I've had a hard month. People feel bad for me. The teller will smile politely and wait for the numbers. Because they don't deal in emotions. They deal in results. And that's not just how the bank works. That's how life works. You don't get paid for pain. You get paid for productivity. You don't build a future with feelings. You build it with actions, choices, and value. Now, of course, pain is real. Struggle is real. Some of you have been through more than others can imagine, and I'm not here to discount that. But I'm here to remind you, the world won't pay you for your wounds. It will only pay you for your worth. And your worth, my friend, is not based on how many times you've been knocked down, but on how many times you've learned to stand back up with something useful in your hands. You see, there's a big difference between relief and recovery. Sympathy offers relief, but only responsibility leads to recovery. Sympathy can comfort you on the couch, but it can't build the business, fix the finances, or repair the relationship. And here's where the real shift happens. Once you stop trying to turn sympathy into currency, you start turning skill into income, discipline into freedom, and growth into opportunity. Because the world may not owe you anything for what you've suffered, but it will open doors for what you produce. So the question becomes, what are you producing? Oh, are you building from the ashes? What are you becoming? You might have every right to feel the way you do. Maybe you didn't grow up with advantages. Maybe someone lied to you, left you, fired you, or forgot you. Maybe you've been overlooked, underestimated, or outright mistreated. I'm not here to argue the facts. Maybe your excuse is absolutely valid. But let me ask you a hard question. Is it useful? See, life doesn't reward truth alone. It rewards traction. And the thing about excuses, even the legitimate ones, is they tend to freeze your feet. They give you a reason to stay where you are. Instead of doing what needs to be done, you can be right about your excuse and still be stuck because of it. Let me put it this way. If your house is on fire and might not be your fault, it's still your responsibility to get out. If you trip in the dark, maybe someone forgot to turn on the light, but you're still the one who hit the ground. Excuses are clever. They disguise themselves as explanations. They sound reasonable, even noble. I never had the right mentor. I wasn't taught how to manage money. I've just always struggled with this, and maybe all of that is true. But here's the question that changes everything. What are you going to do about it? Because the world gives no bonus points for blaming the past. It only opens doors for people who decide to build a future. And listen, I'm not asking you to ignore your story. I'm asking you to own it. There's a difference. Owning your story means you stop waiting for someone to come fix it. And you start becoming the one who does. You say, Excuses may protect your pride, but they'll never build your progress. They may give you comfort, but they won't give you capacity. So instead of rehearsing your excuse, start revising your mindset. Instead of repeating the problem, start reaching for the principle. Because you don't rise by who's to blame, you rise by who takes charge. And once you start doing that, once you trade your story of limitation for a strategy of liberation, you'll realize something powerful. You were never as stuck as you thought. The only thing in the way was the story you kept telling yourself. Your life is a book, and every day is a blank page. The pen is in your hand has been from the start, but too many people are sitting there with the ink drying out, waiting for someone else to write the next chapter, waiting for a breakthrough, waiting for motivation, waiting for a lucky break, a supportive partner, a phone call, a miracle, a sign. Let me tell you something important. Nobody is coming to write it for you. Yes, you might get support. Yes, you might find guidance. But don't confuse support with authorship. This is your story, your voice, your decisions, your direction. And if the plot isn't going where you want it to, the rewrite starts with you. You see, life gives you a lot of characters, some helpful, some not. But none of them are responsible for how your story ends. That's your job. You're the one holding the narrative. You're the one who decides whether this is a tragedy, a survival tale, or a comeback story. The moment you stop looking for a co-writer is the moment you stop waiting and start creating. That's the shift. That's where power begins, not in blaming the last chapter, but in writing the next one better. Now, don't worry if the first few pages were messy. Most great books are. Don't worry if you've wasted a few chapters on regret or resentment. Just don't waste the rest of the book rewriting the past. Turn the page. Pick a new theme. Create a new character arc, your own. And here's the secret. Once you stop waiting for someone to write your success, you begin to earn the right to inspire someone else's. So stop waiting for the right words to show up. Start writing until they do. Start building, learning, growing, line by line, paragraph by paragraph. Because it's not just about what happens to you, it's about what you decide to do with it. You may have every reason in the world for where you are. You may have a compelling story behind every setback, every delay, every detour. And those reasons, they may be real, they may be painful, they may even be justified. But the truth is, the world doesn't measure reasons, it measures results. Now, don't confuse that with being cold-hearted. This isn't about lacking empathy. This is about understanding how things work. The world applauds the one who rises, not the one who explains. Because while your story may move hearts, it's your progress that moves mountains. You can give 1,000 reasons why you didn't succeed, or you can give one reason why you finally did. And guess which one people remember? It's not that your reasons don't matter. It's that they're invisible in the real economy of life. Opportunity doesn't care what distracted you. The door won't open because of your reasons. It opens because of your readiness. I see we live in a world that respects transformation. That honors the person who turned less into more. The one who took what was unfair, what was difficult, what was broken, and built anyway. That's what earns attention. That's what earns influence. Because when you rise, you don't just change your life. You give others a reason to believe they can change theirs. And when people look up to you, they're not inspired by your excuses. They're inspired by your execution. Now again, I'm not saying your reasons aren't real. I'm saying they're not enough. The world doesn't promote you because you suffered. It promotes you because you grew, because you showed up even limping, because you delivered even when it was difficult, because you kept climbing even with weights on your back. So ask yourself, are you telling your reasons or showing your rise? Are you rehearsing the struggle or revealing the strength? Because the world will pat you on the back for trying, but it will follow you when you prove. And when you start rising, not with complaints, but with commitment, not with justifications, but with results, you'll start noticing something strange. Struggle is a fact of life. Nobody makes it through this world untouched. Everyone gets their share, some early, some later, some loud, some silent. But nobody escapes it. Now, the real question isn't if you'll struggle. The question is, what will you do with it? Because struggle can do one of 2 things. It can chain you down or it can fire you up. It can be the reason you stop or the reason you start harder. See, some people wear their struggles like shackles. They drag them around, rehearsing the pain, reliving the loss, redefining themselves by what hurt them. Their struggle becomes their identity. This is why I can't, they say. This is what's holding me back. But others, they take the very same pain and turn it into power. They convert disappointment into drive. They use the fire not to burn themselves down, but to forge something stronger. That's the difference. It's not the struggle, it's the story you build from it. Because here's the truth. Pain by itself is just pressure. But pain processed is potential. You either let it break you or build you. You either sit in it or stand on it. Think of a rocket. It needs fuel to rise, but that fuel doesn't smell good. It's not clean. It's not pretty. And it's definitely not comfortable. But when ignited with intention, it becomes the very thing that lifts it beyond the limits. That's how your struggle works. If you let it, it will either bury you or launch you. It depends on how you burn it. So when life hits hard, and it will, you've got to ask yourself, am I using this or is it using me? Am I locked in the memory of what went wrong, or am I building muscle from what I had to carry? And here's the best part. Once you learn how to turn your struggles into fuel, nothing is wasted. Not the heartbreak, not the failure, not the betrayal, not the silence. It all becomes part of the power plant. Every setback becomes a setup, if you let it. Because at the end of the day, your struggles don't define you. What you do with them does. And the more you convert pain into purpose, the more unstoppable you become. And once you understand that, once you feel the power of turning fire into forward motion, you'll never look at hardship the same way again. You'll stop fearing the next storm. Not because it won't hurt, but because now you know how to harvest it. So here we are. You've got the truth in front of you now. Life isn't different. The world won't pause for your pain. Sympathy may feel good, but it won't change your future. Your reasons might be real, but they're not the road to results. And your struggle, it's either your anchor or it's your engine. You choose. Nobody cares about your struggles, not the way you hope they would. And honestly, that's okay. Because once you stop needing the world to care, you start becoming the kind of person the world can't ignore. See, the moment you stop waiting for life to feel sorry for you is the same moment you start building something life will respect you for. So be the author. Write the story. Burn the excuses. Rise without applause. Let your work speak so loud it silences every doubt, especially the ones in your own mind. Your past doesn't write the next chapter. Your pain doesn't have the final word. What matters now is what you decide to do from this point forward. So don't wait for someone to care. Become someone worth watching. Become someone worth following. And not because life gave you everything, but because you built something with nothing. And in the end, that's what greatness is made of. Not perfect conditions, but powerful decisions. The kind you make today.